Good evening, everyone.
Wow.
Welcome to Environmental Coffee House, and thank you for being here with us. I am Sandy Schoelles, and tonight we have our special guest, Dean Walker, Dean
Okay.
of Living Resilience and the author of The Impossible Conversation. And I will quickly say that Dean and Jennifer and I all know each other. We've actually hugged and spent a really intimate 3 days together in the workshop in Colorado where I met Jennifer and that Carolyn and Dean put on for us. That was very transformational for me in my life
And
and made me feel better and understand what I was going through and the emotions with knowing about our predicament because I really wasn't sure what I was feeling. I didn't know how to feel. And there were other people that were with us, and it was a beautiful experience. So I just wanted to let you know. So, welcome. And hi, everybody out there. Katie's with us, and B. Oh my God, there's so many people. Too many to say. So, Jennifer, take it away from me.
well, it's so good to see you again, Dean. I've been looking
Yeah.
forward to our conversation tonight. And it was 4 years ago that you teamed up with Carolyn for that resiliency seminar workshop. I think it was a 3-day workshop, and that was
Mhm.
in 2017. And how time does fly, but it's really great to
Yeah.
see you again.
Yeah. It is great to be here. I'm curious. I look like I'm kind of freezing or breaking up. Am I coming across smoothly for you?
Yeah,
Audio is good.
audio's great, so
Okay.
don't worry about it. And if
Okay, great.
my internet assures me that I should be able to handle this. So,
Okay.
let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
If the
Well,
graphics don't work, we can go backwards. So, take it
yeah,
away.
you both are right. It was back in 2017. That's actually the year that I put out the Impossible Conversation as well. And at some point tonight, I'd like to kind of look back, sort of a bit self-critically to that workshop because it's come a long way. The work has
Mm.
come a long way since then, and I'm just really excited to share that growth because I don't know about y'all, but I need some good news in this world. Like, what are some of the ways we can get build some inner tools and practices that'll help us to be present in the face of all this predicament laden world. So that's a place we can get to later. But I'm not sure. Do you, Sandy? Do you have any um images or sometimes you all
Well,
do headlines before we get going? I'm
no, Dean, this
happy
is
to get going.
actually tonight is a conversation directed and guided by you, and we are along for the ride. And I do see that you look a little frozen. It is probably, I don't know, we will wing it
Okay.
and hope for the best because
Okay.
it is what it is, but we can hear you
Mhm.
perfectly.
Yeah,
All
the
I'll
right.
audio
watch
is
the
very
chat.
good.
Yeah, and the chat will tell me if
Great.
something's going on. So take it away, Dean. And why don't you lead us to where you want us to go and tell me what you want me to pull up and all that stuff. And Jennifer, you
Yeah.
and Dean interact, and I'll be the navigator. How's that?
Well, thank you for this,
You're
and
welcome.
thank you so much, Sandy, for that. I was really moved by that entry, that opening clip that you put together. It was just so sweet,
Oh, thank
and I
you.
also want to just
We need
you
it.
know repeat what I've said to both of you in our prior chats and so on. The couple weeks back, you did this. It was kind of a a show of grieving, where you both were just sharing personally about the
You did.
tough news and so on that was going on, and that was an evening when originally we were scheduled to do this talk right now, and there was just so much beauty in that. There was so much realness in that,
Thank you.
I got to tell you that I'm becoming really just weary of the amount of gaslighting and the amount of just trying to stay present in the face of the the constant PR of how impenetrable the government wall is, the corporate wall is, the business as usual wall, and I've been really starved ever since I was in the training business for 30 plus years, and I saw that I could bring some of that transformation based training to the collapse-aware community. Because the first thing I did as I was researching, putting together my book was what's being done out there, what's being offered, and what are the tools that people who are collapse-aware can draw on, and to build in their own bodies and in their own experience. And truthfully, there was not much. And there's still not a lot, but there's a lot more right now than there was back in 2017. Just in 4 years, there's a lot more being offered.
You're right.
But at that time, the kind of the benchmark, the cornerstone of this kind of working with people and building their inner skills, their resilience, their ability to be present in the face of larger and larger stressors. About the best that one could look forward to is Joanna Macy's work that reconnects. And there were a lot of pieces from the work that reconnects in that workshop that we did. It was called Resilience Bridge that we did together back in 2017 in Boulder. And I've got to say, and I thank you so much for your kind words, and I'm so glad it was of value. And I absolutely honor Joanna Macy and Molly Young Brown, with whom they both wrote the kind of open source manual for the work that reconnects. So if somebody wants to just have that in their community, their family, their neighborhood, they can get the Coming Back to Life is what that manual is called. But I noticed that I kept designing things like for what my needs were, and that ended up being kind of difficult for me to find value in that, because there was no follow-up. Once we said goodbye at the end of that weekend, it was see you later. There was no more connection.
I remember that.
Yeah. And that hit me really hard. So I've been working like crazy on my own website, which is livingresilience.net, and of course my podcast that I've been doing for a while, the Poetry of Predicament. And in each of those elements, I've just been trying to gather as much transformation-based material and as much material for reconnection. If there's one thing lasting that I borrowed from Joanna Macy, it's that word reconnection. Because I think what got us here collectively and individually is we've disconnected. We've disconnected from all the primary sources of meaning and of relationship in human life. And when I started saying those words, it always sounded like, damn, dude, those are pretty extreme words, like disconnected from the primary sources of meaning and relationship. But, I stand firm with that assertion, because if you look at who we incentivize the most in this world, who do we pay the most money to, and what is their ability to inspire meaning and relationship in this world? How's Jeff Bezos at meaning, creation, and relationship? How about Elon Musk? How much meaning in our lives are we getting from him? So you get the idea. It's those practices of reconnection. Perhaps, Sandy, if you wouldn't mind, I put together some super simple graphics to kind of give folks a sense of visually what I'm talking about. And I bet you your who
Alan?
has been around long enough to have been exposed to Paul Chafurka's
Mm-hmm.
stages of awareness. And it starts out with the bulk of the world's population. That's the biggest blob, if you will, up there. That business as usual on the left. That's the majority of the planet for the rest of their lives. Most people will not get out of just interacting with business as usual without thinking about it much, without being aware of what the consequences are that we're setting up and so on. And for most of us, we spend still, even though all three of us, and I'm sure all of your viewers are very collapse aware, very aware at a systems level, like the global systems, the environmental systems. But even if we have the awareness of those kind of higher stages of awareness, we all still spend the vast majority of every day in business as usual. We really have no choice. Look where we are. We're on this incredible screen with this ability to communicate around the world and so on. All those
Yeah.
systems that are built into business as usual. It's almost impossible to not be immersed in it most of the time. But if we could go back to that stages of awareness, the next level up of awareness is when a person starts to become collapse aware. Perhaps everybody could just think back to what was it that rattled you enough to have you start to think, man, something's not right. Something's not right about the human systems on the planet,
Mm-hmm.
and something's really not right with how we're being with the earth systems on the planet. And for many of us, that starts with having an awareness of one problem. One thing gets our attention, like things aren't all so pooky with business as usual. Something gets our attention and kind of grabs us by the proverbial collar and says, this is important, get on it, have this be important to you. And that could be something at work, or, if somebody's has a healthcare concern, or look at all the people around, particularly in the USA. It's so red hot right now with people who have that one issue right up in front of their face, and that's the one that they scream and holler about. That's often the kind of awkward way we get going into having some attention on something other than just daily survival. The
Mm-hmm.
next one up is many problems, because if you're in the one problem level, you might have you likely will have a very different one problem than I will, and I really, if I'm firmly ensconced in business as usual and that one problem way of seeing, the first thing I'll do is start to see you and your problem as something that's just in the way of mine, because mine's the really important one. You get the idea, right? It's just that singular kind of me focus. But with many problems at that next level, that green blob, we start to see that other people have problems as well. And we start to get a sense of there's more than just me and my singular focus. Still individuals, and still mostly grounded in that business as usual way of seeing the world, which is competition, which is zero sum. We all know the business as usual kind of construct. So then you get to that next level, and that's when it starts to really expand, and we can start to see that we are a part of systems. My family, my neighborhood, my region, my city. I start to get a sense of the human systems, the human way. The word interbeing comes to mind, that we're somehow interrelated. And this is the first time when we really start to get a sense of how interwoven we are. And then the same thing is true. We start to get that impression of the earth systems. And for people who really really dive in here, it starts to be kind of the water we're swimming in is the web of life itself. So it's an extraordinary jump in awareness there. And that last one, that little red button in the far right, is interrelated human caused predicaments. And basically, the punchline at that end of the spectrum is human caused predicaments. And that's pretty much the pivot point for many people of that's really difficult to swallow. You know, and again, I'd be surprised if there's anybody who's viewing this podcast that hasn't had that realization that, oh God, we're doing it.
I
And
kind
it
of
just
wish
really
we
happened.
had people that didn't have that realization so that we could ease them into it also,
Right,
you know?
right.
It's where when you realize you have that aha moment of holy shit, this is happening. It's scary. Nobody's
Yeah.
listening. There's a panic. There's a stage you go through. You go through this panicky stage and all, and
Mhm.
then it's acceptance. What is? I mean, I'm not even going into the whole psychological thing, other than we get there. And boy, isn't it nice to have somewhere soft to land.
Yeah.
What do you think? Somewhere soft to land.
Well, that's really what I was trying to acknowledge about the I mean, you do it so often in your shows, but that one a couple weeks ago was just that was the whole point of the whole show was just um, the the real level of sharing and authentic sharing that you both were doing, and then just being willing to open your heart, be willing to share. You know, sometimes it is tough to keep stepping forward into the next day and the next day when the news is almost always
Yeah, it is
really
unrelenting.
difficult. Yeah. So if I could ask you to just put up that other one, the other slide with to go back to that course that we all did and what was
What other
difficult for me
slide?
about.
Now, I thought these were two of the
Mhm.
same slide that you sent me. Did you send me two of the same slide? Because I will certainly
Oh,
look up for the other one. We can
wow.
do,
I
listen, we can do all of this. We can do
Okay.
everything right on the fly, buddy. That's the
Okay.
beauty of live. Now, I thought you had sent me, oh, the can't hide from your, okay, hang on.
No,
Hang
it's
on.
it's not that one. It's not.
Oh, it's not that one?
It's actually a different one. Let me see if I can get it to you
No.
quick enough.
Oh, wait, the one with the butterfly?
Yes,
I
yes,
have that one.
butterfly.
Let me pull that up. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure I still have it. The one with the butterfly, I think was called number. Here
Yeah,
we go. There we go. See,
yeah.
everything can be done.
So
Let
my
me turn
apologies
down
that
the
this is a
sound.
little busy. It's a little visually busy, but I wanted to just in a couple of
Oh.
slides give you a sense of how this work has grown. Because what I've seen is that not everybody, even not everybody on this call, is on the same comes in at the same level. You know, and most of us again spend most of our time in business as usual every day, no matter how much we know about how screwed we are and how quickly it's coming and so on. And so there are different levels of resilience skills, and that's what's the big white cross in the circle is supposed to be first aid level resilience skills at the business as usual level. And you know, here a great example here is
Carl says it's damage control.
yeah,
I'm
right.
sorry. I had to
You know
do it.
what comes to mind is was it trying to remember the hurricane name that came into Houston that just barraged it with a few feet of
Yeah.
rain.
How do we forget so fast?
I think it was Harvey.
Harvey,
And
that's it. You got it. Harvey.
yeah, it's about 3 years ago, and
Harvey.
the they basically in a state where the collapse awareness level is pretty damn low. What it takes is, there's a boxer named Mike Tyson who is famous for saying everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. And so
Ouch.
what he means by that is, everybody's comfortable in their lack of their kind of willful ignorance of collapse awareness, like in Texas. And then a Hurricane Harvey comes in and punches them in the figuratively punches them in the face.
Yeah.
And so you've got a bunch of families in a neighborhood where they're all sleeping together in the high school gym, and they're wondering when we're going to be able to get back to our houses that are completely flooded out. And that's getting punched in the face. That's having no plan and having no preparation in terms of resilience skills. The kind of resilience skills that I'm talking about are often trained by people who come in after, part of the disaster relief effort. And you can train these particular skills to an 8-year-old. And they can, in 10 minutes, they've got a handful of these skills to be able to get us more present in our body, more present to our breath, to be able to calm ourselves down so we can be present with our family in this imaginary gym and hurricane situation. That 8-year-old can then take those skills over to the corner of the gym with her family, and she can then train them in these simple skills. So this is, as rudimentary as it gets, but most of us in this country and around the world don't have these basic resilience and self-regulation skills. So that's what I'm talking about with that big.
You want me to put it back
That's
up?
what I'm. Yeah, sure, that'd be great.
Let me
That's
see.
what I'm talking about with the big white cross thing. Is the first aid level
Ah, wrong one.
resilience skills.
Wait a minute. Sorry, I'm singing. Jennifer, I told you I wouldn't sing my way through. All right, I lost it. It was like right here, and it is not. Hang
That's
on.
okay.
Oh,
I'm gonna.
wait. I got it. Nope, that's not the one with the
Nope.
butterfly. Why can I get the one with the butterfly? Here's the butterfly. Okay, there's the butterfly.
Okay.
Okay, we got to get the
So let's go back
butterfly.
to that. Let's go back to that 3-day workshop that we did together 4 years
Yes.
ago.
Okay.
That workshop, I would say that work occurred in that middle, looks like the Earth, that round blue sort of Earth-shaped icon.
Yep.
That's where what I would call the practices of reconnection. So instead of the first aid level, which is on the
Mm-hmm.
left, and again, getting punched in the face and being ignorant up until that point and willfully ignorant about resilience skills, this one in the middle is people like yourselves, people like I'm sure the folks that are watching this is where we start to gather skills and practices that it just takes a little time and effort. It's ways that we can start to build some capacity to be present when bigger and bigger stressors come at us from whatever the source is. A classic example is a contemplative practice. A lot of people have, sometimes it's called mindfulness or meditation, and
Yeah.
it's everywhere now. And I'd be amazed if there aren't quite a few folks, again on the call, that don't have some kind of a practice that they can call on, whether it's daily or less or more or whatever. That's one of those skills that if you do it on a regular basis, it can really expand your capacity to be present when the shit hits the fan. So that's the practices of reconnection level. Then the next level up, and this is where I've really been nudging the entire body of work, is I call it the transformative level. That's why the butterfly icon. And this is the area where, what I've seen time and again with the folks who do you know, what we call our community of practice in the living resilience work that I'm doing. The the folks who are doing the their own practices. Your practices will be
Okay.
different than mine, which will be
Yeah.
different than Jen's. But
Right.
the kind of the joy of it is we can sit in circle together, and we can be of service to one another in that circle, no matter how different are the practices we've chosen for ourselves. And there are certain practices that you just can't do alone. Like one I would assert is having a basic understanding of shadow dynamics, shadow inside myself,
Yin yang
shadow
shadow.
in terms of any organization that I'm in. Almost, well, every family has shadow dynamics. It's just built in, right? And so what I've seen is that there's very little shadow work that can be done alone. It can be done, but it's not much. It really takes kindred spirits who are willing to sit in circle and hold space while doing this tough work. So that's what nudges people into the transformative. And what I what I just want to share about that, and then I'd love to just be quiet for a little while and see if y'all have any response to anything I've talked about so far. But
They're chatting
I've
out there.
seen I've seen the in the transformative end of things, it starts to address the question of how do we comport ourselves. Y'all who have read Darja Mail and knowing at the end of his book, at the end of Ice, he asks, how shall we comport ourselves when we know that these things are coming at us really fast and
Right.
hard?
Yep.
And
Right.
that's where of course the practices are essential to be able to expand our capacity to make choices about how we comport ourselves. If I'm not doing those practices, I'm an asshole. I'm truly triggerable. The chances are I've got more and more grumpiness, more and more triggerability in me, more and more opportunities to be uh, not present in my relationships. That's
Can
what
I
the
ask you a
comporting ourselves is. Yeah,
I have a question about how we do this and how we're present. And I don't know if anybody understands this or shares this with me, but my pets make me present. They're
oh
a
man,
way
yeah,
of actually getting myself. I get a lot of affection. I give them affection, but they're a way of
yeah,
making me present. They actually like me, and then we have relations. Look, Jennifer's got her kitty with her. I can't
yeah.
open the door. I can't open the door because then I'd have an onslaught and I have too many. But they do make me happy. And I'm wondering, is that something that is, because I think pets are very therapeutic, I guess. And they
I,
make
Oh
me feel
yeah.
a certain way. And I
They're
really do.
brilliant. They're
I'm
just
Yeah.
with you
brilliant.
completely. I agree completely. I've got a magical dog. His name is Bo. I'm with you. And what I'd love to do, Sandy, is just use that question as a. I'd love to throw open the door to hear what um, what are the inner skills and practices? What are the self-regulation, co-regulation things? What do you do to comport yourself in the way that is most loving and supportive for the people around you?
Around me.
And so share about what animals do you have, share about what practices you have.
Yeah,
I would
guys out
love to
there.
hear.
Let's have some good comments. We'll throw them up and be interactive. Well, that's what this was supposed to be about, being
Yeah.
interactive. Yep, I do have a couple of we had that one other picture that was actually the interesting one that I didn't know who to, while everybody's getting their stuff up and wants to come up on screen, and we'll read. Um it was the climate one, Jennifer. Climate, this one.
Hmm.
I don't I got it off
Mm,
Twitter. I don't remember who did it, but Jennifer doesn't. It
yeah.
looks like what we've talked about. And you're
Well,
on the
yeah.
left, and I'm on the right. You handle the science, and I handle the feely
And
policy, though.
also, it shows that one affects the other because there are tipping points.
Yeah.
There are tipping points in our attitudes, which leads to a change in our behavior. We have a behavioral tipping point, and then
Absolutely,
that cascades ultimately into policy, probably
absolutely,
too little, too
of
late. Sorry
course.
to be a bummer, but I think that's probably from a social perspective, the basics of how change is implemented.
Yeah, but I love that it was so succinct with the Arctic ice sheet. It encapsulates what you and I feel all the time when we
Hmm.
talk about the ice sheets and all of the things. These are all of the things we talk about, Jen. And so I really related to this slide and had to think about my own attitudes as policy. Do I my behavior, will my behavior change? Can I do something to implement policy, even if it's writing a letter or making a phone call to your local representative, even if
Hmm.
it's even if the long run is futile, you did it. And looking at the National Register and looking where the public comment sections are and making public comments on the things that that are coming up, like the 80 million acres of land that is going to be open up for drilling in on federal lands in the West.
Oh, really?
And I'm
Oh,
sorry, the Biden administration is doing this, and I haven't found. And there's a lot of activism. So if you want to get on the it's the Federal Register, not the Federal Register. It'll be in there, and there must be a public comment period. I don't think it's stopped yet. Okay, that's my little thing for the day. My
Mhm.
public service. Yeah, but anybody want to talk? Let's see what we got going in the audience then. How is everyone out there? Sean, what is okay? What is Dean doing to save the dying planet?
What am I doing? I'm offering the most potent conglomeration of practices and skill sets that I can find from my own practices, from many other thought leaders in this arena. And I don't know how else to make a difference in the face of the predicaments that I think we're facing than to
hmm.
keep addressing the question, how shall we comport ourselves? If these are not intuitive skills, most of our families, bless their hearts, they didn't raise us to be able to be present in the face of existential global level challenges. It takes a lot. And these are the kind of skills that I'm constantly in search of and bring to folks. So hopefully that's my contribution. I consider it my little art, kind of like Sandy's lovely video creations that she's doing here, and Jennifer's incredible
Oh,
consolidation of the,
the
at first the
science.
methane stuff, and then now just ongoing clarifying and bringing us and communicating about the science. Each of us has
Yeah.
our contribution. And to me, it
Yeah.
is not about fixing things. To me, it's
Yay.
about to me it's about finding what matters most to
Yeah.
me and being able to
It's
bring
people.
the best that I can to life,
Hmm.
comporting myself. So
Yes.
that's what I would say.
Well, let's
And
see
it's going to
what's going
find a
on.
different expression, the same
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
realization hits all of us, and then it kind of filters through our personality and bubbles up, and then
Yeah.
expresses itself somehow it's going to express itself because
Yeah.
it's such a powerful realization. You can't really just keep it in your own head. It demands expression. It demands that you comport yourself one way or another, and hopefully you can comport yourself with grace and wisdom, because I think that, and some humility, because that's really the only safe way through. Everything else leads to anger and separation,
Yeah.
you know,
Beautifully
and to
said.
try and stay closer to our core of love. That's the challenge, you know.
Oh, I
Absolutely.
never lose my core of love. It's always with me. I have a lot of love. I love a lot of things. I love people. I love you guys. I love my cats. I love my kid. I even love problem solving. I love making videos. So if you, even if I like die here, whatever, the shit hits the fan, I'm going to be doing stuff till the very last day. And I know
Yeah,
that you guys
absolutely.
are in here. You guys are in here, the same thing. But I do have, let's see, I have a bit of a heavy question. Well, first I'll make this one. Jim McHenry, you know Jim that does the climate change emergency protest in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania every single Friday morning. Have you heard Jim? Dean, you have to. You have to. He's been our guest. I've made videos. I use his videos and I make nice, and put them out with music and shit. So, and stuff. I promise to be nice. Well, he says, in a strange way, being proactive centers me, such as standing on a corner protesting allows for reflection at the same time. Now that's beautiful. That gets a gong hit. Yay! We like
Yay.
that. We like that, Jim. You're awesome, and his wife Tanya, and they were with me this summer. So I had the pleasure of having them as my guests and garden helpers, and absolutely just great conversation, and it was just wonderful.
All
Yes,
right. Can I find Jim McHenry? Just Google that name and I'll
it's
find
on
his stuff.
Facebook, and I'll send you a link, and then you don't have to do all the
Great.
work. I'll do it for you. And
Thank you.
yeah, Jennifer, you know Jim,
Oh,
absolutely.
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And I
Here's a
very much
oh
agree with what he is talking about
yes.
there, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why a lot of us feel compulsively compelled to act, because in a strange way, just by acting, you're closer to your truth and it centers you.
Yeah.
Get out of yourself a little.
Yeah.
We can't be so consumed with self.
Yeah.
We have to be consumed with how can we help others.
Yeah.
That's how I
Sandy,
feel. Bring them
I'm
along.
curious. I think you were saying that we will not be seeing that
Oh no, we
clip
can watch the
from.
video. Oh, we have a
I think
video
that would be
clip.
a. I
Okay.
think that clip would be perfect right now as one young
Okay.
woman's
We're gonna
suggestion
do it.
for what this is a time for, and involves grief and feeling together and so on. It's
I am
quite
shutting
extraordinary.
us. We're gonna watch this. He says it's quite extraordinary. Here we are in the large and up close and personal. Hi, Jen. I could reach out and kiss you right there.
Mwah.
All right, we're gonna watch this. Let me cue it up, and here we go. We should be fine now. Yes, we should. Yes, we should. Make sure the volume's up, and here we go. All right, thank you for this.
Our second speaker is Ecem Elbayrak. Ecem is an intern with the Human Impacts Institute and an Extinction Rebellion activist in her native Turkey. She's going to speak with us for a few minutes about what that's like, about what that feels like emotionally and what that feels like politically, and she has a few images to accompany her remarks. Ecem.
Thank you. I want to share with you something I wrote during a very difficult time when my country, Turkey, was aflame this summer. And this is my thoughts and feelings. I want to write pages and pages and not say a single word at the same time. Everything feels pointless right now. Honestly, haven't felt this hopeless and stuck in a long time. Selectivism feels pointless. Writing this feels pointless. Being here feels pointless. But I want to let my feelings out just because I need to let them out. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. It's becoming a recurring thought inside my head. I don't want to live in this world. Sometimes I don't know how to be in this world. How to have a life, how to dream a future. My brain can't dream me reaching old age lately. It's as hazy as the sky that little child was looking at. The apocalypse I have been mentally nerving myself for is here, but I'm not ready to live it. None of us are. With even the limited amount of news and media I allow myself to follow, I get shaken to my core. Record heat waves, historic flooding, massive wildfires, deaths, war, hatred, suffering. It's like a never-ending nightmare. I'm in a constant emotional exhaustion and want to cry and scream. In my head and mind, I don't know how to stay hopeful when the world is collapsing before my eyes at this accelerating pace. I even often feel guilty for not being able to stay hopeful all the time, beat myself up for not being able to take more action, for spending most of my energy trying to stay sane. The wiser voice in me nudges. Come on, Ecem. You know despair won't help creating the world you want to live in. It's going to be a long fight, but we can do hard things. Show up even when you're messy and afraid. That voice and the knowing of my heart can dream brighter, hazeless skies. I know there is a better world our hearts know is possible. One with empathy, healing, safety, understanding, harmony, peace, freedom, and love. Right now, I'm trying hard to listen to that knowing, that little voice inside me I can hear when I sit still instead of the stubborn chatters of my mind. Frankly, it is what keeps me here. And I wonder what would happen if we all started listening better. There's this one quote I can't seem to stop thinking about. There comes a point where we need to stop just pulling people out of the river. We need to go upstream and find out why they're falling in. What if we all listen to the voice of our hearts? Stop just pulling people out of the river. Stop trying so hard not to fall in ourselves and went upstream together. What more needs to happen for all of us to start going upstream? This is the question that keeps me awake at night. How can we collectively go to the upstream and make more people open their hearts to the truth and to the pain and the grief? Because we need to sit in the grief. We have to be willing to acknowledge the pain, the painful truth, because if we don't sit in the reality of the issues, we're just going to continue fooling ourselves, and we don't have time for it anymore. I personally choose to channel my grief and despair into action. That's where I find my hope. These are some photos from some of our actions with the Extinction Rebellion in Istanbul. Those are specifically from one funeral march we did for the species that are going extinct because of climate change. The red costume is the Red Rebel Brigades, an artivist troop of Extinction Rebellion, and it symbolizes the common blood that all species share, that unifies and makes us one. And it is really powerful to be walking around on the streets wearing it, because you can see people connecting with it empathetically, and they can understand the message of it. I know what I'm inviting you to do is difficult, opening our hearts to the pain and the grief. It's a deep analysis, and it is painful. But we have to somehow get the strength in ourselves to feel it all, and then we have to find ways to turn it and channel it into action. We first have to feel the pain, and then we have to rise. Thank you.
Echem, thank you so much.
Thanks for
That
playing
was
that,
really
Sandy.
raw. That was beautiful, but it was
Yeah.
so I don't know. Her real feelings were breaking through, and you don't generally see that in speeches.
It
Yeah.
You
was
know.
heavy.
Yeah.
I have some comments from, I got a lot of comments that I saved, and I'm going to put them up so that because this was, yes, let's share this. Tanya, she was brave to get up in front of everyone in that vulnerable state.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
think, Dean? You wanted to play it, so you obviously wanted to comment on it.
Well, yeah, and what I'm clear about is that these young women, all four of them, this video, please, when it comes down to putting it on YouTube, let's put the link to the whole thing so people can see it.
Oh, yeah.
These young women are typical of the activist community, where they're just bringing their heart and soul to their activism every day. And I know, because I'm around a lot of them a lot, there's so much joy, there is so much passion, there is so much sharing and enlivening that happens for them. And it was what was particularly strong for me is that she opens up with, this is a really tough time. I think this COP 26 was the boldest, basically snub to the activist community around the world, just by the corporatist and the government presence there, where the message was, this is not going to get any better. We're not going to be doing anything. Was the subtext out of it. And so she was sharing the rare moment of, this really hurts. I don't know if I can do this anymore. And then she pulls us out in the way that, and by sharing how she does it, this is the way she pulls herself out, how she comports herself when things get really tough. Is she calls out for her friends to say, let's go upstream and figure out if we can find out what's at the source of humanity doing what we're doing. Let's get to the source of where we can find our own passion again, even in the face of this wave of discouragement. It's yes, it's harsh, but I think it was a loving gift of her sharing her practices with us, inviting us into how she can keep her heart open even when things are this tough.
Yeah.
Amazing. I've put up some
Yeah.
comments while you were talking, and
Yeah,
Poppy
thank you.
said laughter, but let's see. Vecna said, I personally respect female protesters in Muslim countries.
Yeah,
Hairy,
no
hairy
kidding.
stuff. Although in the United States, I fear for any protester now. I do. I fear for all of the
Yeah.
protest, and I was one. I probably would be out there, but and Carl had said letting go of things that are incapable of loving or learning. That's an interesting statement.
Yeah.
Let's see, what are you guys talking about? Anything that anybody wants me to put up or add, or any questions? Billy Joe said, in the dark ages, The average life expectancy was in the mid-20s. Every day that we live is a gift. I do not feel sorry for anyone on earth that is alive today. Well, no,
Mm.
I understand, but you feel it's not sorry. It's empathy. It's not sorry. You're just feeling empathy for someone for what they're going through. Sorry is different, I think. So maybe you want to rethink that one, Billy?
And also, I just wanna say that there's a difference between an individual death, which death comes to us all regardless. I mean,
Yeah,
we were gonna
exactly.
die anyway. There's that, and then there is the fact that this is the breakdown of a biosphere of an entire planet.
Planet.
It's a lot bigger than an individual death. It's a lot bigger than the death of humanity. It is the ultimate breakdown of a planetary system, and I think Gaia will be fine in the long run, but it's gonna be a tough thing. This is gonna be a big, big freaking extinction event, and that's the significance of it. That's the tragedy. That's the thing that is so difficult to wrap our heads around, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in the USA, we just don't collectively know how to grieve. We just don't have much of a skill set in that way. There are remarkable communities. The ones I'm most familiar with are over in Africa, where they just think it's crazy to try and grieve alone. What they do is, on a very regular basis, is they have the whole community come together
Hmm.
and to grieve whatever is there present in their lives in that time. And I've led a number of this kind of rituals and been a part of them, and there's just nothing quite like it to be able to free up our hearts in the face of what you're just saying, Jennifer. The first time that humanity globally has had to deal with an existential issue of this scale, we just don't know how to do it, and we can't do it alone.
No.
No, we can't. Uh,
Mm.
but let's see. I'm putting up comments again. Here is Jean. 99.9% of all life forms created on this amazing planet have already gone extinct. Miraculous that we are even here.
True that.
Maybe we are on borrowed time, but I put up the jar and again, and Carl said the community isn't a large jar. We are. We're a jar. We're a petri dish and a jar. We're a lot of things. Um, Jim had a comment about his activism. Let me find it if I have
You
it.
know, Sandy,
Oh
about
boy.
your the jar situation, that
Do you want me to
expanding
put it back
jar.
up? I'll put it
It's
back up.
fine either way. But the what came through to me about that is, because I haven't seen that image before,
I
is
find these things and I forget
the
where I get them.
practices that I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
are the expansion of that jar.
Yeah.
That's how we expand our ability to be and our capacity to be present in the face of larger and larger stressors, which includes grief.
Larger and larger stressors. Boy, you're not you're not kidding. You're really not
Yeah.
kidding. A lot of stressors. I mean, we go through everybody here goes through stress every day. I mean, living
Mm.
in the societies we all live in, the Western world
Yeah.
anyway. I mean, we're all plagued by horrible illnesses and things that autoimmunes and pesticides and chemicals, and but then the countries that we dump in, they're all getting all this stuff from plastics and all of our waste. Well, how do we, how do these people rectify this? And I wonder if a lot
Yeah.
of people from other countries like India or Africa, well, there's a lot of people from Africa that understand. Actually, I watched all of COP26 and saw so many voices of people who know, but hard to get
Right.
action done politically anyway. I digress. I'll go back to pictures. I mean comments because everybody's busy. Uh One must keep all of one's desperation, what one lives and or dies for, all in one place, inside. Well, you keep it inside, but not all of us can keep it inside. That's why you're here. I hope. I hope you're getting something out of this that you can get it outside, Jen.
You know,
Yes,
Sandy,
yes,
if I
yes.
if I could, I know we're coming up on the end of this, and I'd love to just share a very brief
It's your
story
show.
from this last couple of years. Right about the time that we did that course together, I went to a little conference here in Southern Oregon, and there was one of the local elders in the community, native indigenous elder, and basically he finished up his talk by saying, "Look, we got a little bit of time it's still sort of normal.
Right.
Use this time. Use this time to really
A little bit.
build your center, build your practices, expand your capacities. Now's the time to do it, because when stuff is coming at us wave after wave constantly, there won't be any more time like we've got now. This
Yeah.
luxurious time where we could actually take on a contemplative practice, take on being able to lead circle communication with people, being able to take on some new skills and capacities for grief, like the young woman was saying, and so on. This is the time to find our people, and the time to find and declare what matters most to us, and then gather up the practices of reconnection that allow us to expand out, expand that jar, like your image. And I really do think, Sandy, what you just said a couple of minutes ago is true. This this show is a way that people can co-regulate, which means basically coming together to choose how to comport ourselves, where we can
Mm-hmm.
slow down, calm down, be able to be more present with each other, hear some vitally important information in a good way, see some beautiful video in a good way. This is co-regulation. This is really,
Thanks.
at some level, it is community.
Thank you. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I think it's a nice thing. And Jennifer, she's along with me, communitying up also, you know.
That's
And we
right.
appreciate all you guys. I mean, we're not a monetized channel. We just want to really communicate. And I really hoped to bring a bigger audience of, same like people. And little by little it happens. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It definitely is, and we were very happy to have you. Now, Lightning Rod says you are rock stars to me. You are all thought leaders who might have an inkling about what is actually happening to the environment and what that means for society. All of us, this whole chat, everyone that's with us, that follows us. I mean, there's other people. I see them all over Twitter that are collapse aware. They should come in.
Mm-hmm.
We do good shows. And
Mm-hmm.
we teach. I like to teach. Jennifer likes to teach.
Yeah.
I guess all of us do. Jim
Mm-hmm.
comes in. We're
Very
all we're
much.
all educators of communicators. And Dean, so are you. So Dean, why don't you tell everybody? I didn't pull up your website. My bad. It's going to be in the show notes. The Living Resilience. Why don't you talk about what you do there
Okay.
a little bit more, and then we can say goodbye to everyone, and hopefully that this was a meaningful show for you guys. So
Okay.
let's hear
Well,
about it.
yeah, come on over to the website, livingresilience.net. And if you'd like to join us for our weekly Safe Circle calls, those are 6 to 7:30 Pacific time on every Tuesday night. And you can get the information that you need to hook up with that at the livingresilience.net site. And then there's also a whole programs page where all of those different dimensions of practices and the transformative and so on.
Good.
We have a lot of coursework available to those who want to dive in, and yeah, there's lots of stuff there. And then the Poetry of Predicament podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Die42, and thank you for sharing that lovely, informative. Wait, I want to turn this stupid thing off. Lovely, informative, and great to hear, Dean. And thank you, Jennifer, especially for the cat, too.
Yahoo!
Meow. Meow. I had a meow, but I lost it. You know, we didn't even have a toilet flush of the day. This show is
Oh
like
my goodness.
so good that there was nothing negative to say what gets the toilet. What would you pick? We have a thing, the Environmental Coffeehouse toilet flush for some shitty thing, you know? It's a shitty thing. What would you pick, Dean, if as your shitty thing? And that I could celebrate the toilet flush of the day with before everybody
The
goes.
shitty thing is just how in our face, how smashed into our face, the negative information, the negative conclusion
Yes.
of COP26. Basically, it was them, the corporatist voices telling us this. And so I'd love to see that get flushed.
You know what? That's getting a flush. And you know what else is getting after the flush? It's getting an applause. Yeah! Yeah, all right, listen, guys. Thank you. This was Jennifer. Would you like to bring up the rear here?
Well, you know, for a long time, I have felt that community is really important, and to have kindred community who are people of like mind, because this is such a mind blower and it's too big to keep within our little noggins all ourselves. It just
Yeah.
will break out. And I think, Dean, the work that you're doing is very valuable in building community with your different programs and sharing sessions.
I
And
like it. Safe circle
thank
call.
you very much for all your
Which I don't
good
go on.
work.
You
You're
know,
so
I'd be
welcome.
on
Thank
it if
you.
I wasn't so neurotically busy all the time. I would go on the safe. And I always know it's there, so it's not a personal thing. It's my thing. I have like 10 minutes a
I got
day
it.
extra. Yeah, but if you guys want support, and I mean, Dean's got some awesome stuff. I wish I had pulled up the website. I forgot to do it. Okay, well, I'm going to end. I think I'm going to play the video from the beginning to end for those of you that didn't see it, because it was pretty. So I'm going to shut us off. Good night. I'm going to systematically wait, I'm going to put him back on for a say goodbye. I don't think I didn't mean to do that. I meant to get
Bye,
our names
Sandy and
up.
Jennifer. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. I promised I wouldn't do this. Talk my way through anything. But really, thank you everybody for coming. I am, and Jennifer, we're really, really happy that you did. So we'll get off the stage and say good night. Good night, good night, good night.
Good night.
There we go. I found myself and I found Jennifer. Yeah? Who? Good night. We love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.